The Galactic Council chamber floated in orbit above a dying star, its glass walls shining like silver fire. Inside, hundreds of alien delegates sat in a half-circle, their eyes fixed on the blue hologram of a small planet spinning in the air. The planet was called Earth, a death world. Laughter echoed across the chamber. Deep rumbling sounds, clicking noises, hissing tones. Every kind of laughter from every kind of species. The counselors found the very idea amusing, a primitive world trying to join their civilized galaxy. They still burn liquid fuel to fly, hissed a green-scaled commander, his sharp teeth gleaming under the chamber light. They still use gunpowder projectiles and explosions. Savages! Another alien, tall and silver-skinned, leaned forward. Their history is full of wars. They destroy their own species for resources. They call that strategy. He said the last word as if it were poison. The laughter grew louder. At the far end of the table, sitting silently, was the human representative, Captain Elias Ward. His dark eyes stayed calm as the aliens mocked his homeworld. He didn't speak. He simply observed, his jaw tight, his hands still. The blue hologram of Earth glowed softly before him. The council leader, a towering being with glowing red eyes, leaned closer. Captain Ward, tell us, why does your kind believe you can survive in a galactic war? What could your death world tactics possibly teach us? Ward raised his gaze slowly, his voice low and steady. You think we fight for glory, he said. You think we fight because we enjoy it. You're wrong. Humans fight because they must, and when survival is the goal, no tactic is too insane. A few aliens stopped laughing, curious, but most continued, waving their clawed hands dismissively. An alien general tapped the table and projected ancient human war footage. Trenches filled with mud and fire, men charging into machine gun fire, cities burning, and nuclear blasts painting the skies orange. Look, the general said, laughing. This is how they fight, throwing bodies at bullets, madness. Inefficient, emotional, chaotic, another alien added. They waste lives as if they grow them in fields. Ward's eyes flickered toward the images. His voice turned cold. Those bodies you laugh at built the peace you live in. Every civilization that stands today learned one truth. Comfort exists because someone else bled for it. The laughter dimmed slightly, but the arrogance remained. The council leader's red eyes narrowed. And what will your Earth do when the Galactic Council decides you are too dangerous to be left alone? Ward stood slowly, his reflection shining against the silver floor. We will do what we always do, he said softly. Adapt, endure, overcome. He pressed a button on his wristband. A holographic message appeared. Images of Earth's defense systems, orbital cannons, stealth satellites, and the shadow of something massive hidden beyond Mars. You laugh at our weapons, he continued, his tone calm but edged with steel. But you misunderstand something about humans. We don't need better tools to win. We only need a reason. The council chamber fell silent for a moment. Then an alien strategist sneered. You speak boldly, human, but your threats are empty. Your world is isolated. The council's fleets are beyond your imagination. You cannot win. Ward smiled faintly. You're right, he said. We can't win your way. He turned and walked toward the exit, boots echoing on the metallic floor. Before the door opened, he looked back once. But don't ever mistake that for weakness. You've never fought someone who plans to die and still win. As he left, silence hung in the air. The aliens looked at each other, unsure whether to laugh again or feel something they had long forgotten. Unease. Moments later, the council leader spoke. Begin Operation Containment. Earth will learn its place, the room erupted with agreement. Dozens of alien races nodded, confident that humanity would crumble like every primitive world before it. Far away, through the transparent walls, Earth glowed beneath its sun. The human envoy's ship detached from the council station and vanished into the darkness, heading home. Inside that ship, Captain Ward stood by the viewport, watching the stars. His expression was unreadable. He whispered softly, They think we're still the same as before. Behind him, a voice responded, female, mechanical, calm. Sir, Project Bastion is ready. The fleet is waiting, Ward nodded. Then it begins. Outside, the stars stretched and blurred as the ship entered warp. The silence of space swallowed the vessel whole. Back in the council chamber, alien delegates resumed their laughter, unaware that the seeds of their downfall had already been sown. On every human screen, in secret bunkers and underground bases, a message appeared in red letters, Protocol Deathworld activated. And somewhere deep within Earth's shadowed orbit, a massive metallic shape slowly came to life, its engines pulsing like a heartbeat, waiting for the order. The laughter of the galaxy was about to stop. The alien fleet entered the Sol system like a wall of light. Thousands of ships shimmered against the darkness, silver, gold, and blue hulls reflecting sunlight as they approached Mars. It was meant to be a show of power, a message to the primitive Deathworlders that resistance was pointless. In the lead ship's command deck, Admiral Shearthal stood proud. His scales glistened beneath cold light. Around him, alien officers moved efficiently, confident and calm. The Admiral's voice echoed through the fleet-wide channel. "Remember," he said, "our purpose is containment, not destruction. Humanity must surrender its weapons and accept integration. This is not war, it is correction." Laughter followed from distant ships. They had studied humanity's war records and dismissed them as chaos. Against the Council's technology, humans were nothing more than clever animals. But deep within Mars's orbit, something waited. Hidden among the dust and shadows, ancient satellites came online for the first time in decades. Their silent activation was unnoticed by the alien scanners. Captain Elias Ward stood on the command bridge of the human flagship Resolute Dawn, his hands clasped behind his back. The stars ahead glittered like the eyes of waiting gods. "Status?" he asked quietly. "Project Bastion is online, sir," replied a young officer. "All 12 orbital cannons are charged. The alien fleet is entering the kill zone." Ward nodded once. His expression was calm, almost too calm. "No transmissions. Let them think we're afraid." Across the solar system, the aliens laughed. One broadcast from the lead ship reached Earth's orbit. "This is Admiral Shearthal of the Galactic Council. You have 10 minutes to surrender. Any resistance will be punished." Ward turned to his communications officer. "Reply." The officer looked uncertain. "Sir, what should we say?" Ward's eyes stayed fixed on the stars. "Say nothing." The silence stretched. Alien sensors detected movement around Mars, small objects shifting in orbit. They assumed it was debris. Then the first beam fired. A blinding lance of blue light erupted from Mars's shadow, slicing through the void. It tore straight through the lead alien cruiser, vaporizing half the bridge. The Admiral's laughter turned into static. Another beam followed, then another. 12 massive cannons hidden beneath Mars' crust opened fire in perfect synchronization. Each pulse ripped through alien shields, shredding ships that had never before known defeat. "Return fire," shouted an alien officer. "Target the surface." Dozens of plasma bolts struck Mars, exploding across its deserts. But as the dust cleared, the planet's defense network remained, untouched, protected by invisible shields. Ward watched calmly from the Resolute Dawn. "Phase 2, he ordered. Tiny dots appeared. On his tactical screen, human drones, thousands of them, swarming from behind the asteroid belt. They were fast, small, and armed with warheads that moved like thinking predators. The alien fleet tried to intercept them, but the drones split, multiplied, and circled like hunting wolves. Within minutes, explosions rippled across the alien formation. Admiral Shearthal's voice finally broke through the static. "Impossible. How are they coordinating this chaos?" Ward's lips curved slightly. "Chaos is the strategy." On the alien bridge, panic spread. Their computers couldn't predict human maneuvers. Ships collided trying to dodge attacks. One commander screamed, "They're fighting without pattern. No formation, no command chain." But that was the secret. Humanity had learned from its endless wars that order was weakness when survival demanded madness. Each drone, each ship, each soldier fought as an individual mind, adapting faster than any AI. The alien fleet, built for symmetrical warfare, was breaking apart. On Earth, civilians watched live feeds in stunned silence. The images showed human ships, rusted, patched, and ancient-looking, ripping through fleets of shining alien technology. "Sir," said the tactical officer beside Ward, "we've lost contact with Drone Wing 3. Ward nodded. "Mark their last position." "Why, sir?" He smiled faintly. "Because that's where we'll send the enemy next." Within moments, 100 human ships appeared at the coordinates, catching the retreating alien cruisers by surprise. The void lit up like a storm. The aliens finally began to retreat. Shearthal's voice was trembling. Pull back. Regroup at lunar orbit. As they turned, the Resolute Dawn moved into view. It was larger than any alien expected. A battleship built from stolen designs, painted black with human insignia glowing red. Ward finally transmitted his first and only message. To the Galactic Council, he said quietly. Lesson 1. Never underestimate the desperate. Then he gave the final order. Fire the pulse. A wave of electromagnetic energy burst outward, shutting down every alien weapon, engine, and shield within range. Ships drifted helplessly, lights flickering like dying stars. Ward's crew stared silently at the screens as alien vessels floated powerless. For the first time in galactic history, a council fleet had been defeated, not by superior numbers or advanced technology, but by human unpredictability. Admiral Shearthal's last transmission came through, weak and broken. You're monsters. Ward's tone remained calm. We're survivors. The communication cut. The human fleet turned away, leaving wreckage behind. Inside the Resolute Dawn, the crew cheered, but Ward said nothing. He watched the burning debris drift in silence. This isn't victory, he whispered. It's just the beginning. Back on the Galactic Council station, chaos erupted. Reports flooded in, entire fleets lost, admirals missing, Mars defenses impenetrable. Some called it impossible, others called it terror. The council leader slammed his clawed hand on the table. Enough, send the second fleet. We will crush this death world once and for all. But deep inside, fear had already taken root. Far away, on Earth, the night sky shimmered with the faint glow of falling alien wreckage, streaks of light that burned through the atmosphere like dying stars. Children pointed upward, thinking they were shooting stars. Soldiers looked at the sky and smiled grimly. Humanity had survived its first encounter, and as the message echoed through every human channel, Phase 1 complete. Awaiting new orders. Captain Ward closed his eyes and whispered to himself, Let them laugh again. We'll give them something to cry about next time. The Galactic Council was in chaos. The chamber that once echoed with arrogant laughter now filled with shouting, panic, and denial. Reports of their fleet's destruction spread like wildfire. The once proud admirals argued among themselves, searching for explanations that did not involve the word they feared most: defeat. They cheated, hissed one reptilian general. They used forbidden weapons. Impossible, snapped another. That world barely has faster-than-light travel. This must be a trick. At the center table, Scholar Viren watched silently. He was not a soldier, but a historian. He had studied the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations, and yet nothing in the archives prepared him for what humanity had done. One fleet, one planet had humiliated the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. He opened his holo-tablet and began replaying battle footage. The Council had confiscated every recording of the Mars engagement. Viren studied it frame by frame. He slowed the moments where human ships moved in seemingly random patterns, darting and twisting in ways that made no sense. A colleague leaned over his shoulder. Their flight paths are chaotic. They waste movement. No, Viren said softly. They improvise, watch. He pointed at the screen. One human fighter broke formation and charged directly toward an alien cruiser. Normally that would be suicide, but at the last second, the fighter detonated near the cruiser's shield array. The explosion disabled it, allowing the rest of the human squadron to tear through. Viren's eyes widened. They learn mid-battle. Each death teaches them something new. The other alien blinked. You mean they adapt individually? Without command? Yes, said Viren. They do not wait for orders. They trust chaos. The council leader, listening nearby, slammed his hand on the table. Absurd, no army can fight without command. Then perhaps they are not an army, Viren whispered. Perhaps they are something worse. Meanwhile, far from the council world, the war had not stopped. The galactic fleets regrouped near Jupiter, determined to crush Earth once and for all. In orbit around the gas giant, Admiral Shearthal's replacement, High Commander Shertek, surveyed the holographic battlefield. This time, he said coldly, we will end their illusions of victory. Prepare the pulse cannons. As the aliens prepared, humanity watched from the shadows. In the command deck of Resolute Dawn, Captain Elias Ward stood surrounded by his officers. The air smelled of metal and smoke, the hum of the reactor thrumming under their boots. Commander, said his first officer, We intercepted their strategy broadcast. They plan to lure us into open combat. Ward nodded. Good. Then we'll give them what they want. And something extra. He turned to the tactical screen showing ancient human footage, wars from centuries past. World War I, II, Vietnam, the Eastern Front, and hundreds of smaller conflicts. You see this? Ward asked quietly. Every war we fought, we started weaker. Every time we adapted faster. That's our pattern. That's our curse, and it's what will destroy them. He looked around at his crew. They study our weapons. But they don't study our will. They can't. A soft chime interrupted him. Transmission from the United Terran Command, sir. Project Ghostline authorized. Ward smiled faintly. Finally. Moments later, the human fleet began to vanish from scanners. Cloaked by magnetic interference and false signals, their presence disappeared completely. When the alien fleet arrived in orbit, they saw nothing but empty space. Where are they? SureTech demanded. Before anyone could answer, a human voice broke through the comms. Calm, cold, almost amused. You're standing on our battlefield now. The aliens turned their scanners downward. Hidden in Jupiter's storm clouds were hundreds of drones and ships camouflaged by the planet's magnetic field. The first wave erupted upward, firing from beneath the clouds like ghosts emerging from a nightmare. The alien fleet fired back, but their sensors struggled. The storm interfered with targeting. Human ships danced through lightning, striking and disappearing again. This is madness, one alien shouted. No, Ward's voice replied. This is history. In less than an hour, the sky above Jupiter became a graveyard of broken ships. Humans moved like shadows, each loss replaced by another unpredictable strike. The Council fleet fired blindly, hitting their own allies more than their enemies. From the bridge of Resolute Dawn, Ward watched the chaos unfold. Initiate Phase Gamma, he ordered. From the asteroid belt, hundreds of decoy signals activated. Fake fleets, false transmissions, and artificial distress calls. The remaining alien forces panicked, splitting up to chase ghosts. Within hours, the entire Second Fleet was scattered. Humanity had won again, without superior weapons, without overwhelming numbers. Just strategy. Just madness. Back in the Council chamber, silence ruled. Viren stood before the holographic display showing the battle's aftermath. They fight with history, he said quietly. Every war they ever lost became a manual for the next one. The Council leader's voice trembled. Then what do we do? Stop underestimating them, Viren answered, and pray they stop fighting before they start learning again. But the Council could not agree. Some wanted negotiation. Others demanded total annihilation. Fear split the alliance apart. Meanwhile, on Earth, celebrations filled the underground cities. For the first time in centuries, humanity felt united, not against each other but against the galaxy. In his private quarters aboard the Resolute Dawn, Ward sat alone, staring at a photo of Earth's surface. Oceans, mountains, clouds. He whispered to himself, every time they force us to fight, we become something worse. His AI assistant flickered to life beside him. Sir, the Council has declared humanity a galactic threat. Ward sighed. Then we'll show them what a real threat looks like. He stood, looking out the viewport at Jupiter's swirling storms below. Send the message to command. The galaxy doesn't learn from warnings. He paused, his voice turning cold. Time to teach them the hard way. Far away, in the silent void between stars, thousands of dormant human warships awoke, each one an echo of Earth's defiance. Engines roared to life and their lights pierced the darkness. The galaxy was about to learn another lesson from the Deathworlders, one written in fire, chaos, and unstoppable human resolve. The night side of Earth was alive with quiet fire. From orbit, it looked peaceful, oceans glowing under moonlight, continents wrapped in darkness. But deep beneath the surface, the planet was preparing for something far greater than defense. Humanity was about to change the rules of war forever. In the underground command center known as Bastion Core, the air was electric. Holographic screens showed alien fleet formations, intercepted transmissions, and casualty projections. Every light, every hum of machinery carried the weight of a civilization standing on the edge of extinction or evolution. Captain Elias Ward stood in the center of the room, surrounded by generals, scientists, and AI projections. His uniform was black, unmarked by rank. Humanity no longer needed ranks. "Only will, reports?" he asked quietly. A young officer spoke fast, nervous. "The Council's third fleet has left orbit around Vega Prime. Estimated time to Sol, 50 hours. Over 5,000 ships, sir." Murmurs filled the room. 5,000 ships. That was half the Council's combined strength. Ward didn't flinch. "And our fleet?" 800 active warships, another officer answered. 200 more under refit. "Not enough," someone whispered. Ward turned to face them. "We've never had enough," he said simply. "That's what makes us dangerous." He walked to the center console and tapped a command key. The holographic display shifted, revealing something enormous, hidden deep beyond Neptune's orbit. The Nemesis fleet. Rows upon rows of black warships drifted in the darkness, silent and invisible. They were built in secret, scavenged from alien wreckage mixed with human steel and human rage. Some ships were incomplete, others ugly and untested. But each one was armed with something no alien could predict. Human creativity. A hush filled the room as the fleet shimmered on the display. "Activate Nemesis," Ward ordered. "Sir," said one engineer hesitantly, "we're not ready for mass deployment." "The reactors," Ward looked at him sharply. "Neither were we. But the galaxy didn't wait for us to be ready. The command was given. Across the outer system, hundreds of hidden hangars opened, releasing the black ships into space. Their engines pulsed with dull red light, their hulls coated in adaptive stealth plating that absorbed radar and light. To the aliens, they would appear as shadows until it was too late. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council's massive fleet entered the system confident and furious. Admiral Shertek, scarred from the Jupiter disaster, stood at the front of the flagship Orion's Pride. His voice thundered through comms. "Find the Deathworlders. Burn their planet to ash." Sensors swept through the void, detecting faint energy signatures. "There!" shouted one officer. Objects moving behind Neptune's orbit. Shertek's lips curled into a cruel smile. At last, he ordered the fleet forward. Thousands of alien vessels glided through space, weapons charged. Their scanner saw nothing but faint shadows, and then those shadows moved. The first human volley came from nowhere. Dozens of alien ships exploded instantly, their hulls sliced apart by magnetically accelerated tungsten rods. There were no energy beams, no flashy weapons, just raw kinetic death. Shertek shouted, "Raise shields! Counterattack!" But the human ships didn't stay to be hit. They vanished into the darkness only to reappear behind the fleet, striking again and again. Every move was unpredictable, every tactic insane. On the bridge of Resolute Dawn, Ward watched calmly. "They'll think we're retreating," he said. "Are we, sir?" His first officer asked. Ward smiled faintly. "Always, until we're not." He gave the next order. "Engage Ghost Protocol." Instantly, half the Nemesis fleet powered down their engines, going completely dark. The alien sensors lost track of them. The remaining human ships drew the aliens in, faking weakness, pretending panic. Admiral Shertek grinned. "They're running!" "Pursue them." He didn't notice the trap until it was too late. The silent half of the human fleet ignited their drives behind the alien formation, surrounding them in a burning crescent. Ward whispered, "Close the jaws." From all directions, human ships struck at once. EMP pulses fried alien shields. Drones swarmed like angry hornets. Every alien counterattack hit empty space. The Council fleet broke formation in confusion. "Who commands them?" one alien officer cried.
"How do they coordinate?"
The answer came from the darkness, Ward's voice broadcast across open frequencies. "We don't coordinate. We adapt." Shertek's voice shook with fury. "You cannot win. You're surrounded." Ward stared at the holographic display. "So were our ancestors at Thermopylae, at Stalingrad, at Midway." His voice hardened. "And we turned those names into legends." With a single command, he activated the final phase. The human ships began to ram. Not randomly, strategically. They crashed into enemy carriers to block escape routes, sacrificed themselves to detonate plasma reactors, turned debris into shrapnel storms. The aliens watched in horror as humans destroyed themselves to win. Shertek screamed, "They're insane." Ward's calm reply echoed through comms, "No, we're human." The battle lasted only 4 hours. When it ended, half of both fleets were gone, but only one side still moved. The human ships drifted through fields of glowing wreckage, silent and victorious. The Orion's Pride, Shertek's flagship, lay cracked in two. On the bridge of Resolute Dawn, no one cheered. There was no celebration, only exhaustion. Ward stared at the screen, voice quiet. "Send a message to the Council." His communications officer hesitated. What should it say? Ward's eyes were cold as the void. "Tell them the Death World lives." As the transmission left, the Council world trembled. Their sensors received the message, short, clear, and terrifying. The Death World lives. In the Council chamber, no one laughed. No one spoke. The silence was thicker than fear. Scholar Viren broke it first. "We wanted to study them," he said softly. "Now we must survive them." Outside in the endless dark, the human fleet turned home. Their ships were battered, their crews scarred. Yet their engines burned brighter than ever. Humanity had crossed the line from survival to dominance, and for the first time, the galaxy began to understand what the word Deathworlder truly meant. The Galactic Council met in emergency session for the third time in one cycle. The chamber, once bright and echoing with laughter, was now dim and tense. The air itself seemed heavier, as though the universe outside had grown darker. Every delegate sat in silence, their gazes fixed on the massive holographic screen that displayed a single message sent by the humans after the battle near Neptune. The Deathworld lives. No demands. No threats. No explanations. Just that one cold statement. The Council leader's voice trembled with fury. 3 fleets. 3 gone. How is this possible? A lizard-skinned warlord slammed his fist against the table. "We cannot fight madness with logic. These creatures destroy themselves to win." Scholar Viren, the historian who had watched every battle frame by frame, stood slowly. "They don't destroy themselves," he said softly. "They redefine what victory means." The chamber turned toward him. "Explain," hissed the leader. Viren expanded the hologram, showing footage from the last engagement. Human ships burning, crashing, detonating, sacrificing entire squadrons just to cripple a single enemy carrier. "They know they cannot outnumber us. They cannot outgun us, so they change the battlefield itself. They win when we lose order." The leader's glowing eyes narrowed. "So you're saying they thrive in chaos?" Viren nodded. "They are chaos." The room fell silent. Far away, beyond the blue shimmer of Earth's orbit, Captain Elias Ward stood aboard the Resolute Dawn, staring out at the stars. His reflection flickered against the glass, a shadow framed by infinite darkness. Around him, the hum of machines mixed with the quiet breathing of his crew. His first officer approached. "Sir, the Council has withdrawn its remaining fleets to the inner colonies. They're afraid." Ward didn't smile.
"Fear isn't enough."
"They'll regroup." "They always do." "Then what's our move?" Ward turned to face him. "We show them the logic of Deathworlders." He opened a holographic file, Project Lazarus. Across the ship's control deck, dozens of officers watched as Ward began explaining the impossible. Their fleets rely on centralized command. If we strike communication, they collapse. But if we destroy their communication hubs, they'll rebuild. So we don't destroy them. The crew exchanged confused looks. Ward continued. "We infiltrate them. We corrupt their logic. We make them doubt their own systems." He looked around the room. Fear makes them careful. Confusion makes them destroy themselves. Hours later, the plan was in motion. Thousands of human signal buoys, small, nearly invisible, were released across known space. Each one broadcast false signals, mimicking Council fleets, distress calls, and phantom enemy movements. In a matter of days, the galaxy's communication networks began to crumble under chaos. Fleets were sent to phantom coordinates. Colonies evacuated from non-existent invasions. Council admirals accused each other of betrayal, and then the false messages grew darker. Some began with the familiar sound of a human voice whispering, "You wanted order. We brought war. Now find peace in chaos." The words repeated on every channel, sometimes slowed down, sometimes distorted, always unnerving. At first, the Council called it psychological warfare. Then, as entire fleets went missing chasing ghosts, they began to realize it was something else. One night, in the Council chamber, the leader's personal communication system activated on its own. A hologram of Captain Elias Ward appeared in the center of the room. The delegates gasped. "Who allowed this transmission?" The leader roared. Ward's hologram looked directly at him. You misunderstand us, counselor. You think we fight to win. We don't, the leader hissed. Then why do you fight, Deathworlder? Ward's voice was low, calm, and terrifying. Because you made the mistake of mocking survival. Then the hologram flickered and vanished, leaving the chamber in dead silence. Back aboard the Resolute Dawn, Ward turned off the transmitter. His officers looked uneasy. Sir, one asked, was that necessary? Ward looked out at the stars. Yes, they have technology. We have fear. Fear wins longer wars. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, council fleets fell into disarray. Commanders accused their own AIs of sabotage. Civilian colonies shut down communication systems entirely, terrified of human interference. It wasn't just war anymore. It was infection. In the human command network, one AI named Aurora processed the outcome of Operation Lazarus. 94% communication collapse achieved, Captain, she said in her soft, synthetic voice. Ward nodded. Begin Phase 2. If they cannot talk to each other, they'll attack each other. And they did. By the next solar cycle, council fleets had fired upon one another, mistaking friend for foe. Entire star systems burned under their confusion. The galaxy began to devour itself. Scholar Viren watched helplessly as updates flooded in. They've turned our order against us, he whispered. They've made us human. He stood before the council, pale and shaking. You must understand, humans do not think in straight lines. Their strategies move like storms. They strike, then vanish, then strike again from a place that doesn't exist. This is not military power. This is psychological evolution. But the council leader would not listen. Then we destroy Earth, he growled. Erase the source of this madness. Viren shook his head. You cannot destroy what has already spread. You made them the enemy, and now they are the mirror. The leader raised his fist. Prepare the final armada. And so, as fleets gathered for what the galaxy hoped would be the last war, Earth remained silent. No transmissions. No threats. Only stillness. On the Resolute Dawn, Ward stood before a window showing the glowing blue curve of Earth below. His reflection looked older now, his eyes cold. They'll come again, said his officer. Ward nodded slowly. Good. Because now, they'll see what Deathworld logic truly means. The stars reflected in his eyes as he whispered, We've shown them fear. Next, we'll show them truth. Outside, the fleet engines ignited, dozens of black ships rising like shadows into the sky. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival. They were teaching the galaxy a new rule. In the mind of a Deathworlder, there is no peace, only preparation. The Galactic Council's last armada stretched across the stars like a silver tide. 10,000 ships moved in formation, shields glowing, engines burning white through the void. It was the largest gathering of power in galactic history. They called it Operation Final Dawn. It was meant to end the madness, to erase humanity from existence. But deep in the quiet darkness between worlds, the humans were already waiting. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, his face calm under the dim red lights. Outside the viewport, nothing moved. The fleet floated in absolute silence. Hundreds of ships powered down, hidden in the shadow of a dead star. Enemy fleet approaching the edge of Sol system, said his first officer. They're scanning every orbit. Ward didn't blink. Let them. For hours, the alien armada advanced. They found nothing, no transmissions, no movement, no sign of life. Earth's orbit appeared empty. The planet itself was dark, its satellites offline, its defense grid cold. It looked abandoned. On the bridge of the Council flagship, the alien commander, a creature of iron-blue skin and 4 eyes, watched the readings. No resistance, he said. They've given up. But Scholar Viren, standing beside him, whispered, No. This is not surrender. This is the silence before impact. The commander ignored him. All ships, he ordered, prepare planetary bombardment. Then, without warning, every sensor in the fleet flickered. Static filled the screens. Navigation systems died. Communications collapsed. Across the vast formation, alarms screamed. What's happening? Shouted the commander. Viren stared into the void beyond the viewport and saw them. From behind the dark side of Earth's moon, shapes emerged. Black, angular, and silent. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. The Nemesis fleet had returned. No engines flared, no energy signatures revealed their presence. The ships glided forward like shadows, their hulls glimmering faintly under starlight. The sight froze the alien fleet where it stood. Then across every comm frequency in the galaxy, one voice spoke. Calm, cold, human. "This is Captain Elias Ward of Earth. You came to end us." "But we already ended you." The alien commander's eyes widened. "Open fire. All ships now." But nothing happened. The Deathworlders had hijacked their systems again. Weapons refused to respond. Thrusters died. The great fleet of 10,000 ships floated helplessly, engines dead, targets locked on themselves. Ward watched from the Resolute Dawn. "Initiate the broadcast." In the darkness, a beam of blue light shot from Earth into the void. It wasn't a weapon, it was a signal. A message transmitted in every known frequency, every language, every corner of the galaxy. The holographic broadcast appeared inside the bridge of every alien ship, showing humanity's history. Images of trenches and battlefields, of cities rebuilt after fire, of explorers leaving their homestar for the unknown, of survivors crawling from ruins covered in ash, refusing to die. Then the voice returned. "You mocked us for being born on a death world. You called us monsters. You called us unstable. You were right." The hologram shifted again. Now it showed the alien fleets burning at Mars, shattered above Jupiter, broken near Neptune. "Every time we lost, we learned. Every scar became a blueprint. Every grave became a warning. You wanted to understand Deathworld logic? This is it. Survival isn't victory. Survival is evolution." The entire galaxy listened. Civilizations paused. Leaders froze in their chambers. Even stars seemed to dim. On the Council flagship, the commander shouted, "Shut it down!" But his voice trembled. He knew it was too late. The hologram faded, and in its place appeared a final image. The Galactic Council's capital planet, projected from orbit. Ward gave the order. "Fire the pulse." A ripple of light spread from the Resolute Dawn. It wasn't a beam or missile. It was information, a virus made from logic itself. The same chaos that had destroyed their fleets now spread through their entire network. Across the galaxy, planetary defense systems failed. Drones rebelled. Ships refused to obey orders. Every civilization connected to the Council's network felt the same shock. Humanity had rewritten the rules of control. For the first time in history, the galaxy's great empires were silent. On the Council world, panic erupted. Power grids collapsed. Towers burned. The leader stood on his balcony, staring into the night sky as hundreds of streaks of light descended through the atmosphere. They weren't bombs. They were messages. Each one exploded into glowing words across the clouds. "We tried peace." You laughed. "Now you understand." The leader fell to his knees, trembling. "What have we done?" Scholar Viren stood beside him, watching the sky burn. "We woke the only species that treats survival as art." Back aboard the Resolute Dawn, Ward stood in silence. Around him, his crew watched as the holographic maps updated, thousands of enemy signals blinking out one by one. "Status?" he asked quietly. "Complete," said Aurora, the ship's AI. "Council command has fallen. The galaxy is offline." The crew waited for Ward to speak, but he didn't. He just stared at Earth's horizon, glowing faintly under the dawn. Finally, his first officer asked, "Sir, what now?" Ward's voice was distant. "Now we stop fighting. Let them rebuild if they can. Let them remember." He walked to the viewport and placed his hand against the cold glass. "We've shown them what it means to live on a world that kills you every day. They'll never forget that lesson." Aurora's voice softened. "Captain, do you think they'll ever forgive us?" Ward's eyes darkened. "Forgive?" He paused. "No, but they'll never mock us again." Outside, the Nemesis fleet began to turn away from the battlefield. Engines ignited one by one, blue trails slicing through the blackness. The ships moved not as conquerors, but as survivors leaving a graveyard. Below them, the Council planet burned quietly. No explosions, no screams, just silence and the faint hum of drifting debris. As the Resolute Dawn entered warp, Ward whispered the final words of the war. The galaxy stopped laughing. That's all we ever wanted. And then, like ghosts, the Deathworlders vanished into the stars. In the centuries that followed, the story would spread, told in whispers and warnings. Every civilization learned the same truth carved into history's bones: never mock the children of a death world. Because when they rise, the stars themselves grow silent.